Let's roll, son. Do
it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Ivy Nation, to another edition of the Irish Breakdown Podcast. I'm Vince. That's Bryan. And we're back. I know you missed us together. Don't lie. It's okay. It's okay to be honest with yourselves.
The OGs are here. Ready to go.
What up, everybody? So I'm excited because obviously, number one, got to go to practice today. Number two, huge commitment today as well. And number three, I get to do a show with Bryan. So
on his anniversary.
Order.
You know how much I love y'all.
That's
you know how much
true.
I love you all in this chat. You know how much I love Irish Breakdown Nation. Today's my 17th wedding anniversary, and I'm doing the show, and I'm not in trouble because my wife loves y'all too. So we're ready to go.
I know, right? But hey, a lot to talk about today. Obviously, this was the one and only full practice that the media got to see, and we were there from start to finish. So that is awesome. And then obviously Notre Dame got a commitment today, which is also awesome. And that is how we are going to lead off the show today. Talking about Ebenezer Ewetade. I think I said that right. Maybe.
Believe so.
Possibly. Yep. Okay. All right. I tried to spell it out phonetically, but, you never know. You never know. But he's a 26 defensive end out of North Carolina. Big pickup for Al Washington. He committed today after practice. I mean, happy open practice day, basically, as Ebenezer commits to Notre Dame. So we're going to break it all down for you guys like we always do. Real excited about it. Trevor was also at the practice today. He made some land speed records driving home to Indianapolis after practice. And so he's going to join us as well very soon. But we kind of waited for him to get home. That way we could kick this thing off right and get all three of us in here. And the way you can get everybody's opinion, because there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on today at practice. So very excited about that. But Bryan, let's kick off today's show with the commitment of Ebenezer and what that means to Notre Dame. So, Bryan, the backstory on this commitment for Ebenezer Ewetade.
Look, so first of all, this is an interesting recruitment, Vince, because this is one of those ones where you say, like, this is why you kind of got to be real careful with recruiting rankings, because when this kid got offered by Notre Dame, I think he was a 3-star across the board. That wasn't that long ago. And then you look at him. Notre Dame was one of the first big schools to really get on Ebenezer. And they got on him really early. And as they were kind of like right after the season, they started to really push. They had been recruiting him for a while. And then eventually the offer comes. He gets on campus on the one weekend practice that they were able to have, or a weekend recruiting visit that they were able to have the junior day after the season, before the dead period starts. He comes up on campus, and staff blew him away. I think he got an offer during that visit, and they have been on him from start to finish. Really, they have. And it did a great job of. Sean Davis has talked to Ebenezer multiple times. He's talked to his high school coach, and we kept hearing the same thing every time. Al Washington, Marcus Freeman have been all over this young man. Like, they've done a great job building that relationship. So there's a couple things about his recruitment we can't share. I'll probably be able to share it Thursday evening.
Fair. Okay. I know where you're going with that.
But there was a lot to this recruitment that it was exciting. That was something that you like, but it really just came down to a couple things, Vince, because Trevor just texted me. Vince is number one, early evaluation, getting on a kid early before a lot of other schools did, recognizing the talent and saying, look, this is a raw player, which we'll talk about during the film breakdown. Very talented player, however, lots of upside, fits the defense, fit as a young man, great fit into Notre Dame as an institution. He fits there very well. And then just being aggressive and really just staff-wise being aggressive on him and really making a hard push for this young man. So I think this staff did a phenomenal job of this recruitment. There's really nothing to pick apart. He was not originally going to commit this soon, but it was just, and it's been known. I mean, I can't tell you how many hints I've dropped about where Notre Dame stands with this kid in the last month. And then eventually everybody else starts picking it up and putting crystal balls in and stuff like that. But this is a kid that you look at and say, they did it right. Great evaluation. getting on him early, staying on him, and saying, this is a kid we want. No need to play games. Let's go get him. And for the young man, it just became very obvious right away that Notre Dame has everything I'm looking for. Everything I'm looking for. So how the commitment went down, basically he went up to Al Washington after practice and said, I'm coming. And that's if you we don't give away commitments at Irish Breakdown. We don't do that. This is his moment to shine. But what we do is we'll put out some fun little things that something is coming. We won't say who. We put a little dancing gif out last night. This is who that was about. I was told a few days ago that it was going to happen this weekend. The question was going to be, would he announce it this weekend? That was the only thing, or would he wait till later in the week? And they went through it and got it done and decided a day or so ago that he was going to announce it today, which is what I'm glad that they did. They needed to let him have his moment. And it's a pretty awesome pickup, man. But it's a lot of it's about relationships as well. And both Al Washington and Marcus Freeman did a great job with this one. But, look, Al Washington catches a lot of flack from folks on the recruiting trail. This is a phenomenal way to kick off the D-line class in the 2026 cycle. Great.
I will say that it's really cool, outside of who he is as a player and all of those different things. I think it's really cool that he decided he wanted to make the trek up to Notre Dame and commit in person, whether they knew it was coming or else, I mean? Like, to do that in person means he's in, man. Like, he's invested. He wanted to share the moment with his coaches. Yeah. I think that's what my kid did. You know what I mean? Like, they knew he was going to commit.
Right. That's right.
Like,
now your kid drove an hour and a half.
Correct.
This
Big
kid
difference.
drove from North Carolina. No, I'm saying is like it just speaks volumes about how this kid wanted to be in this class.
And that's my point. That's what I want to say is, like, he's in. Like, he's all in. He wanted to do it. He wanted to see the look on his coaches' faces. He wanted to involve his family in that commitment in person. Like, so I dig that. I think that's awesome. That says a lot to me about who he is as a player, as a person. And that's just on the outside looking in. You know what I mean? Like, a lot. Right. I'm not saying that people that do it on the phone are not committed or anything like that.
Right.
But it's just cool that he had that opportunity to do it.
The other thing too, Vince, is this is not some kid that you snuck in and beat NC State for, and that you beat North Carolina for, and that you beat South Carolina for. Notre Dame was sort of the first big school to get in on him. Ohio State followed suit. Bama offered. Georgia offered. His final five that he released a few weeks ago was Notre Dame, Bama, Georgia, Florida State, and I believe NC State was the fifth. So, and what's funny is I was looking up yesterday and I saw an article that was written in late March by one of the national people at Rivals, and they were doing predictions for where top players would go. They had Georgia as the prediction for him. Now, I laughed because I already knew then that this is how it was going to end up.
Right.
But it just goes to show, like, this is a kid that Georgia wanted, that Georgia was a take, that clearly the staff at Georgia thought they were in a great place, which is why they, it gets out that might be the school to beat. But Notre Dame was always a school to beat for this young man, and nobody else really came close. And that's why it happened this quickly, because he got out and saw all those other schools. And it was just, you look at it and it just ends up and it's like, okay, this is just kind of the place I want to be. And so it's another big win over a big time school that Notre Dame is just doing more and more and more of lately. And that just adds to the impact of a commitment like this. So,
well, you said the magic word, Brian. You said impact. So let's talk about the class impact, how it impacts the actual 26 class for Notre Dame and moving forward.
Well, so this is commitment number 8 for Notre Dame in the 2026 class, and the third defensive player and the first defensive lineman. So just from a number standpoint, that's how he impacts the class. The second part of it, Vince, is I'm gonna have to get used to this, Vince. I'm sorry, man. I missed you.
I feel like the second place. No,
it's not, because when I'm always calling him Vince. I'm like my grandmother. She always calls me Marty or Barry. She always calls my dad Brian or Marty, and Marty Barry or Brian.
How do you think I feel? I don't even know if I've got any of my kids right ever. So it's
I get it. So class impact. Notre Dame came into this class. This is an opportunity for a big D-line class. They have recruited well to good on the D-line the last couple of years. And what we've seen in recent years is D-end recruiting is starting to ramp up a little bit. Mm-hmm. But you look at last year's class, Dom Hulak, bit of a hybrid guy, linebacker, edge, can do some different things. But what they didn't get in last year's class was that really explosive, twitchy edge rusher. So, of course, you're going to recruit ends in every class. You're always going to recruit at least two ends in every class. But they really specifically needed sort of that long, athletic, twitchy edge rusher. And you're talking about a young man that's still relatively new to football, that last year as a junior had, I believe it was like 82 tackles, but 28 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, and 5 forced fumbles. Vince, you watched this film. We'll watch it with all of us together. We'll watch it in a little bit. This is still a raw young man in a lot of ways, but super productive against a pretty good level of competition. And the talent is, I mean, the talent's obvious, Vince. I mean, the talent is just obvious. I mean, you look at the tools, but he fits that. You need at least one just weak side, twitchy, athletic, long, explosive, super high ceiling grade type of kid. So he adds that. I mean, he checks all the boxes, and he's a kid that's, I think, got like a 3.4, 3.5 GPA. Actually, it's on his highlight. He has 3.4 GPA. Checks off all the academic aspects of it. You talk to his high school coaches. When Sean Davis talks to his high school coaches, they rave about the type of young man he is, and just the character that he has, the work ethic, the attitude, it literally just checks all those boxes. But as we have said for years, this is a perfect example, and we'll talk more about it later in the week, but this is the perfect example of these kids have always existed. These 6'4", 225, super twitchy, super athletic, Southern or Southeastern kids that care about academics, that want to go to class, that want to get a good education, but they also want to be first-round draft picks. They also want to play for championships, and that's where Notre Dame has failed so many times, is because the whole, there's just not enough defensive linemen that want to go to class. Bull. They don't want to go to class and get beat by all the top schools. They're just going to go to the top schools and compete for championships. This is the type of young man that Notre Dame is always going to do well with, but a big reason why I think that it was so easy for them is not only did he check off the boxes for them, Notre Dame now checks off all the boxes for him. And they have done a lot. Some of the stuff they've done with D-line recruiting this cycle that they didn't do in the past, I don't know why, is they're taking all the guys that Al Washington has coached on the D-line who are now in the NFL, and they're taking their NFL film and showing them to these players of like, here's what you can do. Here's how this guy's a lot like you. This is how this guy fits. Like, look at Harold Landry. Look at, Zach Allen. Look at this guy. Look at that guy. And really using that, and that pitch is working for them. And then they look at, like, last 2 years, they've had 2 All-American defensive linemen. And now Washington, the last 3 years, has coached Isaiah Foskey, who was a second-round pick. Then he coached Howard Cross to an All-American season. Javante Jean-Baptiste goes out and gets drafted. He's playing for the Redskins or Commanders in year 1. Year 3, he coaches Riley Mills to an All-American season. And it's like, look, the results are starting to show now. And then, of course, Notre Dame goes 14-2. And now it's not only does he check off the boxes for Notre Dame, but Notre Dame now checks off all the boxes for him. And that's why you're seeing this success. Great, but more on top of, I think Al Washington has sort of found his sweet spot at Notre Dame, where he's more comfortable with what works at Notre Dame, what fits at Notre Dame, and those type of things. So, and I didn't say Foskey was an All-American. I said he was a second-round draft pick. I don't believe he was an All-American. But, those are the things, Vince, that kind of get you a little fired up about what's going on right now. Yeah. And the other thing, too, is class impact. This is a young man that has skyrocketed up the rankings. And so some of the services don't still have him quite as high as he should be. I believe he is he's a 4-star across the board now of all the people that have ranked him. But I believe he's like around like 200 in the country on Rivals. Is like, I'm looking at now 201. He is around 242 on 247, whose rankings are just not good. But On 3 has him ranked as the number 36 player in the country and as the number 6 edge player in the entire country, both end positions. I have him in he got a top 100 grade for me. He's not quite in the top 50 range for me yet, Vince, because he's so raw. But this is an easy 5-star upside kid. Like easy 5-star upside kid. Now, on 3 puts more of their upside into the ranking than I do, because I have the initial where he is right now, and then his upside of what he can be. They put them together, and that's why you have this 36 ranking. So I have no problem with their on 3 ranks him, even though you may look at my grade and said, well, you have him ranked lower. That's because I separate the present and the future in my ranking system and make them 2 grades. They put it into 1. So if I was going to say who's closer, it's definitely on 3, because I have him as a top 100 player. So this is a big time pickup, and this is a position, Vince, that a lot of people said that's the missing link is the D-line. D-line recruiting. Can you recruit elite players in the D-line? They're starting to do that more and more and more. You got Bryce Young, and think about this, 2 classes ago, even though he's just a freshman.
I know,
you got Boubacar Traore 3 years ago. You got Logan Thomas 2 years ago. You got Chris Burgess last year. And now you're kicking this year's class off with a guy like Ebenezer, and you're starting to see that edge recruiting of what do they all have in common? Long, athletic, high upside kids. And you start getting really fired up about what Al Washington is doing at the defensive end position for Notre Dame. And this is a great way to kick off this class. Great way.
Yeah, no doubt. And we're gonna throw in the film here in just a second, and you're gonna see everything that Bryan was talking about: length, get off, just raw athletic ability, but also room to mold that clay. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big piece of what you're talking about as far as the kind of guys that Notre Dame's going after. The tools that he has are elite. Now he's going to have to get coached up. He's going to have to get molded. He's going to have to get, developed and all of those different things. But, oh, man, with the classes that Notre Dame's putting together on the D-line now, I feel like you can bring in a guy who's a high-end project, and I don't want to use the word project because then people are like, oh, it's a 3-star kind of kid who you're going to have to just develop and make better. I'm saying he's a high upside type of project who's got elite tools that you just need to mold and point in the right direction, kind of a deal. You know what I mean? But he doesn't have to necessarily be a hugely impactful guy as a freshman, although he could be. I mean, he absolutely could be. But as a guy going into his senior year with more development to happen in high school, you can take a guy like this and feel really good about your situation.
That's what has me excited about this pickup, Trevor's, because this kid is a top 100 prospect right now, and he's not close to his full potential, Vince. I mean, he's not
exactly.
Close. And you'll see that on the film. I mean, he's put on about 15, 20 pounds in the last year. Like some of his early film was like, if you even look at the picture that we used from this for the show, I think it's from a sophomore year. He's got really skinny arms. Mm-hmm. But you look at him now, he was on campus today. Doesn't look like that kid anymore. He's about 225 now. He's filling out. He's a lot more muscular now. And there's still a lot of frame for him. I mean, he's going to be an easy 240, 250 pound kid, no problem.
Yes. Yeah, because he's got a big frame, and there's plenty to work with there. Plenty to work with there, for sure.
Yeah, a lot. So class impact, you're kicking it off. You're meeting a need from a position-wise. You're meeting a need from a unique skill set-wise. Pass rusher, you're kicking your defensive line class off with a highly ranked player who complements your other top D-line prospect perfectly. We'll get into him here in a little bit when we talk about what's next. But, and again, here's the final piece to this class impact, Vince. Notre Dame has made a very concerted effort to get back into to make the state of North Carolina a prime region for them. And we've seen that in recent years. Obviously, in the 2024 class, you got Bryce Young, you got Micah Gilbert. They have absolutely made a concerted effort to try to get more impact in that class. And I'm all for it. That's a state that is a booming state in a lot of ways, Vince. And the thing I like about the state of North Carolina is 3 positions you can constantly get players out of the state of North Carolina. You can get receivers from North Carolina. You can get D linemen from North Carolina, and you can get DBs from North Carolina. Like that's an area that Notre Dame just can't get a lot in its surrounding states. And so those are very important areas. So look at what they've landed the last 3 years from the state, 3 classes from the state of North Carolina. You got Bryce Young and Micah Gilbert in the 2024 class that are both North Carolina kids. Last year, you got Jadon Blair, who's one of your best all-around prospects in that class from the state of North Carolina. That was a big-time pickup. And then this year, you look at what they've done this year, you're now kicking off your D-line class with a kid from North Carolina. Oh, and by the way, he happens to be your second commitment from the state of North Carolina. He now joins Thomas Davis Jr., who committed to Notre Dame a while ago at linebacker. So you've got 3 kids committed on defense. 2 of them are from the state of North Carolina already, and they're hoping to add at least 1 or 2 more guys from the state of North Carolina. So it's a state that's putting out more and more and more athletes, and Notre Dame is trying to hit it hard, and this is a great way to get this thing going. So that's the final piece of the class impact, is a state that they're trying to make a big priority state. It's another big, and then the year before that, they had Sullivan Absher and Sam Pendleton out of North Carolina. So they're definitely trying to have more of an impact, especially with the D linemen and the skill players. And that's what's so important. Your last 5 commitments from North Carolina are Bryce Young, Micah Gilbert, Jadon Blair, Thomas Davis Jr., and now Ebenezer. That's big-time success in that state. Big-time success.
No doubt.
So very, very pleased with that if you're Notre Dame. Very pleased with that if you're Notre Dame.
Ready to throw on the film? I think that's where we're at. So let's throw on the film, and then we can kind of walk you guys through. Not walk you guys through. You're all intelligent. You know what you're seeing. But we're going to talk our way through it and let you guys know what we're seeing as we go through his highlight film. And there's a lot of good stuff here for sure.
Yeah, he's number 24. So you'll get a chance to see him, Vince. And the first thing you'll see, 2 things you'll see right away. Length for days. Al Washington, Marcus Freeman, these guys, look at that. Look, you can see it right there. They love length. They love frame. They love the tools. And this young man has a lot of length, a lot of tools. He's also got a very, very explosive first step. He gets on linemen absolutely in a hurry and can get around the edge in a hurry. You're going to see from this film also, still needs a lot of technical work, but that length, you just can't get your hands on him with that length. And despite the fact he's undersized, I mean, he's 225 pounds, and he's 225 pounds now. I don't know that he was 225 pounds on this film.
Can you go back to the last highlight?
Yeah. But
I want people to watch.
Go ahead.
He takes on this block, and then he has quick hands and just sheds this kid. I mean, I believe that's a tackle or a guard that's coming around, has the momentum, and should be able to kick him out. And his hand placement and speed of his hands gets that guy out of the way.
Yeah. Love that pursuit. Love the quickness. Don't stop plays right in the middle. Let me see you run. But you see the foot quickness. This is a really twitched up athlete, Vince.
Yes.
Really explosive athlete, kid that can absolutely run. You'll see the length here. You see it here. He's able to keep guys off of his body. But he's got good strength for a kid his size. That's the thing I like, Vince, is when he hits you, you don't run him over. Once he gets like 25, 30 more pounds of armor on him, he's going to be really, really a challenging player. Look at that first step. Like, he had 5 forced fumbles, by the way, last year. 28 tackles for loss, 5 forced fumbles. There is nothing technically sound about this play. Like, nothing other than punching the ball out. And that's the thing that you may look at and say that's a criticism, but for me, Vince, that's a praise, because I mean that's what Al Washington gets coached to do, is to teach that stuff.
Yep.
So the physical tools with this young man are very impressive, and you just see it. I mean, just not a lot of nuance to what he does. But look at this. This is what I'm talking about, though. Look at that length and look at the strength, the natural strength he has. Look at that. So on this particular play, so you're going to see where Ebenezer is on this play. So I love when I do that, when I'm clicking on the my screen here instead of that one. So this shows where he is. Okay. So over here, watch this right tackle. Watch his back when he engages with Ebenezer. Watch his back. Watch this. See that? That's what you want to see when a defensive lineman takes on an offensive lineman. You'll see that offensive lineman's back arch backwards. you know he popped him in the chest pretty good. And then that length to just disengage with relative ease, and then the speed to get to the football. This might be his most impressive clip on the whole highlight.
Agreed.
This particular play, because you see it all. Length. You see the strength, block destruction, and then boom.
And reading the play. I mean, he gets him out here so that he stands him up. He can read the play. He sees where the ball is going. He sheds him, and then he catches a running back from behind.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
It's a great angle.
Which he does too. Quite a bit in this highlight. In these highlight tapes. So, again, there's that length that this tight end can't get his hands on him. I think that's actually an offensive
tackle.
Not a very big one, but like he can't get his hands inside of him because he's so long. So if you watch this clip right here, watch right there. Ebenezer has his arms extended and he's into that guy's chest. The tackle has his arm extended and he's up around his tricep because he's not long enough to get his hands onto Ebenezer because of how long he is. And that's obviously another impressive clip, Vince. But again, you watch it. This kid is super raw fundamentally and technically, which I've said before I don't care as much about because that's what these D1 coaches get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars to do is teach a kid how to play. If you can't teach a kid how to get in his stance and out of his stance and use his hands, then you're in the wrong profession. And we know Al Washington can do that. So I'm not concerned about that. But it's some impressive plays here. But the athleticism, Vince, the tools, he's got the things you can't teach.
Mm-hmm.
He's tall, he's long, he's twitchy, he's athletic, he changes direction with ease, he's strong. He's an impressive athlete. Very impressive athlete.
I do like the fact that they do put him in a 3-point stance every once in a while, too. They don't just let him stand up and just go. Again, there's a lot of stuff that he needs to learn, obviously.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they let him do both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that'll fit at Notre Dame because he'll be asked to do a little bit of both at Notre Dame.
Exactly.
He won't just be asked to do one at Notre Dame.
And it won't be completely foreign to him to put his hand in the dirt.
Look how quickly he beats this tackle. This is just...
He crosses his face so fast.
Yeah. Just blows right past this guy. It's an impressive play.
They tried to block him. They tried to down block him, and that wasn't going to happen.
No chance. No chance.
So
this is Ebenezer. Again, this isn't really, I mean, you see that, like, this is a clip where it's like, okay, this is what narrows his base, comes off high, doesn't step with power. But then he grabs.
But he's just strong. Like once he gets him,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. A lot of technical stuff to work on. But again, what Marcus Freeman has prioritized from the day he arrived, and what Al Washington is starting to do more and more of, is like, look, let's go get those guys for those elite tools, whether they're ready to play right now or not ready to play right now. The focus is on the ceiling. And this kid has a very high ceiling. And this was also his first year of playing varsity football, which I also thought was impressive. This is a kid that's still very new to football. This is not a sport he's been playing since he was 5 years old. Really like this young man. It's another example. Just look at that length. He does this with one arm. Look, watch. Right there, he's got one arm on that guy. You can see his right arm is free the entire time. That's a really impressive play, Vince. Really impressive play. This kid gets taught how to play the game, like at a level like you expect. And this isn't a knock on his high school coaches. Again, he's new to football. I mean, I think they've actually done a pretty good job getting this kid ready to play with the technique he has.
Because he does do a good job of standing the guy up, reading the play, react. Like, he does do a good job of that. There's no doubt.
Right. It's just you can only coach so much in his first couple years playing football.
Right.
So that's Ebenezer, man. This is a very, very impressive football player. Vince, very impressive football player.
100%.
Big pickup for Notre Dame.
Yep. It's a big time pickup. Watching his film just gets me excited. And again, the one reason I hate doing these with you is I'm like, why couldn't I get a guy like that when I was coaching? Like, what the heck? Why did I never have an elite guy that was getting recruited by Notre Dame? Like,
you still might be coaching, man. You know
what I mean? Seriously. Yeah. Right. Anyway. But yeah, so that's a film breakdown. Bryan, so what's next in recruiting at Notre Dame? Lots of, Lots of guys at practice today. Lots of families at practice today.
Oh yeah.
It was a crowded house. Let's just put it that way. So I know there was a lot of recruits there as well. So what's next for Notre Dame?
Yeah, well, what's interesting, Vince, is this week has been very important for Notre Dame defensive line recruiting because they're getting a lot of their top targets are on campus this week. For example,
Mm-hmm.
Dre Quinn was on campus earlier this week. Big time talent out of Georgia. Mikhail Blade's currently on campus, a very talented player from Illinois. Kerry Wilder is on campus today. His flight got canceled because of weather. He had to fly in today. You had Xavier Griffith Haynes was supposed to be on campus this week. His flight got canceled, but you've had David Jacobs, talented 2027 kid, was on campus. Marcus Fakatu was on campus, a big time 2028 kid was on campus. You obviously remember the big weekend in late March with Braden Parks and Devin Robertson, those kind of guys. But what you've got going on these next few weeks or these last week is you had a lot of your top players are coming on campus. And then in mid-April, you're going to get Elijah Golden's going to be visiting campus. And they're trying to get Tiki Holas on campus again too. But they're trying to put together an elite D-line class. And there's a lot of reasons for that. This is something they've been working on for a while. When you look at their first couple classes, when this class shows up, those guys are going to be juniors and seniors. The Boubacar class will be seniors. The Bryce Young class will be juniors, which is just wild to talk about. We're talking about a commitment of a kid who will be on campus when the freshman, borderline freshman All-American player kid will be a junior. It's just still weird to think about that. How quick all this stuff goes. But, those guys are going to be juniors and seniors. So this class is meant to kind of add to that, but then replace those guys when they leave. But also, this has been known for a while that this was going to be a really deep class nationally. This is a really good, I would argue, from what I've seen so far on film, nationally, the two positions that I think are the deepest and the most talented are D-line and running back, especially the edge. This is a great edge class. And Notre Dame has got to take advantage of that by landing some of these big-time edge players. And so they want at least 5 kids in this class in the D-line. I think they'd take 6, honestly, if it was the right 6. And so when you look at the defensive end position, that's where obviously Ebenezer plays. You've got another player that's making a commitment over the next week. On April 10th, that's Thursday at 4 o'clock. Rodney Dunham will make his decision. He is going to be announcing between, actually, I think it's, let me pull up his, believe it's also Georgia. There's some people that think Georgia is his top school. Let me just go pull up Rodney's top list for right now. He will be committing to either Notre Dame, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, or Duke. That's who he commits to on Thursday. Ebenezer's the number 36 player in the country on 3. Well, Rodney Dunham is the number, I think he's number 7 player in the country. Yeah, he's the number 7 overall player in the country, according to on 3. So you're talking about 2 top 50 caliber players that Notre Dame is trying to close on. If they're able to close on him on Thursday, and again, if you're a member of the board, you know my stance on where Notre Dame stands with Rodney Dunham. This would be a great start to the class, but they're gonna try to add at least 3 edge players, and I could even see them landing 3 true edges, and then a 4th kind of a hybrid guy, a guy that could maybe play edge, maybe grows inside, a Mikhail Blade and Elijah Golden, a guy like that. So I think there's sort of a dream scenario for Notre Dame where you get Ebenezer, you get Rodney Dunham if you can close on him on Thursday. And then if you can get one of Dre Quinn or Mikhail Blade, maybe both, and to kind of finish out the class. And then, of course, it's focusing on the interior. You want to get Tiki Hola. They're obviously looking at Elijah Golden as a potential guy that could move inside. Kerry Wilder, who's on campus right now from California. He's a guy that right now is a 6'4", 260-pound end that absolutely moves inside. Like he's a Riley Mills type of guy that he'll move inside very quickly and be an inside guy. They're recruiting him as an inside guy. They love him as a prospect. We're hoping to get some intel on how that thing's going to go. And then, of course, you also have another North Carolina defensive lineman in Noah Clark, who's a 6'3", 305, 310-pound kid that they're also recruiting. They just got to get him on campus. It's hard for me to really feel too good about where they stand with Noah because he hasn't been on campus yet. All the other kids that I've mentioned, except for, well, actually now that Kerry Wilder's on campus today, all those other kids have already visited on their own dime. And we always talk about, Vince, if you can't convince a kid to come visit campus on his own dime before the official visit starts, you got no shot. Right. And they got all these kids on campus. They got them on campus early. So, it's been a while since they've had Elijah Golden on campus. He'll be back on the 17th. It's been about a year, I think, since he's been on campus. So that'll be an interesting one, but a lot. I mean, think about all the kids that they've had to visit this past week. So where they're at now, Vince, is the board is elite. The question is, how will they close? So can they get Rodney Dunham on Thursday? If we feel good about that one, let's say hypothetically do, okay, can you close on Dre Quinn? Can you close on Mikhail Blade, who's getting recruited by some big-time schools? He's just was down at Tennessee. Can you close on Tiki Hola? Can you close on Elijah Golden? Can you close on Kerry Wilder? Can you close on Noah Clark? How many of those guys can you close on? Because right now they've got a board that's about 8 or 9 guys. You've got to get at least 5 of those 8. Let me actually look at the offer list right now, Vince. So if you look at the board right now, I'd say it's Mikhail Blade, Rodney Dunham, Ebenezer, Xavion Griffin-Haynes. You've got that are like legitimate targets right now. You got Dre Quinn, Kerry Wilder, you've got Noah Clark, Elijah Golden, Tiki Hola. Those are, I'd say, so that's 9. You've got to get at least 5 of those 9. If you can get 6, that's awesome. You get 5 of that group of 9, you've got an elite defensive line class. What's the one position, well, there's been 2, but what's the one position on defense that most fans rightfully claim is the one position that Notre Dame is not quite on that elite level yet? It's D-line. Well, you've got a chance to put an elite defensive line class together. You just got to close. So that's really what's next, Vince. It's not even about you got to go find some new guys. It's you got to close. The board's there. These kids are coming to campus. There's a ton of interest. You're doing a great job. Got to close. But here's what's important about Ebenezer is you just kicked your class off with an elite player. I've said this about football. As much as things have changed with how football's going and recruiting's going, the one thing that hasn't changed, guys that are the great players that still want to play most of them want to play with other great players. A great D lineman knows I can't be the only dude on this line or it's going to be really easy to block me. Great linebackers don't want to play behind a bunch of average defensive linemen. They want to play behind dudes. So when you get a kid like this, it makes it easier. It's like a game of dominoes. When that first domino falls, if it's a big-time domino, it then starts to kind of get everything else rolling, and it makes it easier for you to close at a high level. And that's what getting a kid like Ebenezer does. And then you hopefully can build some really positive momentum on Thursday with Rodney Dunham when he decides between, as I mentioned, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Duke. So it's about closing. The board is there. The pieces are in place, Vince. What's next is just close on them. You got to close on them. And these aren't guys that I'm sitting there saying, well, he's the 3.5-star kid now, but he's got 5-star. I mean, these are guys that are really good players now and even higher ceilings. And the only guy that I kind of view as a true project is Noah Clark, who's the biggest guy on the board at 6'3", 310. That's the only real quote project that you have on the board. And it's an impressive group, Vince. It's a very impressive group. You just got to close on them. That's the key.
Well, there you have it. That is our breakdown of the recent commitment of Ebenezer Ewetade, defensive end in the 26th class from North Carolina. Go ahead.
Before we move on to the next thing, Vince, I did want to get a couple of these super chats real quick. I wanted to get one from Charlie Weiss's last belt loop. It says, hats off to Coach Washington. Big time dude. Great offers. Yeah, this is absolutely a huge pickup for Washington. And this isn't one of those where, I've said in the past, he wasn't the primary driver of that guy's recruitment. This one flat out was. He did a phenomenal job getting this young man in the class. Then also Luth Holtz, Thunder and Bolts. Thank you, Bryan and IB Nation, for the prayers for my wife this week. Physically, improvement has been minimal, but spirits have lifted greatly. Thank you all. The Lord is at work in this community. We will continue to pray for her, man. We do appreciate that very much that you've given us. I've asked you for updates. Please keep them coming. But you don't have to give us super chats, man. We'll get your prayer requests up on there.
Right.
You need to hang on to that to because you guys are dealing with some stuff, but we appreciate you, man. And we'll continue to keep your wife in our prayers. And I'm glad you're able to be with us today in the show. So I just wanted to get to those here real quick, Vince, before we move over to the practice.
Nope. Sounds good. Appreciate it. So again, that is our commitment show for Ebenezer Ewetade Ewetade, excuse me, no extra N, I'm just not adding letters here. The defensive end out of North Carolina, huge pickup for Notre Dame, Coach Washington, and obviously more to come in the 26 class. He's the 8th signee or commitment, excuse me, in the 26 class. So very exciting news out of Notre Dame today.